And welcome back, guys. Happy Monday morning. Welcome back to another episode of Rogue Actions Part 2. If you guys are just now getting here, you need to first and foremost get back over to Ram's channel, guys. You can find the link down below there. And check out Part 1 of our discussion from today, guys. In Part 1, we talked about the Ezra teams that we can see being used once he drops. And then also we talked about the Balin event and the timeline of that Balin event. And that discussion led directly into what we're going to start off with here today, guys. And that is, when is AHSOKA coming? So this is obviously very much speculative at this point, but we're getting a lot of pretty clean and clear evidence as to when this is going to drop. First and foremost, the biggest reason we can kind of track some of this stuff is datacrons. We know that certain things are happening with datacrons. We've got that information. And then we can kind of figure out things from there. So what I'm talking about first, we're gonna go ahead and switch screens so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. So as we take a look, this is the upcoming Datacron faction set, okay? This is the stuff that just came out, technically speaking. Most people cannot get this yet if you're playing free-to-play. But if you look at the alignment and faction mechanics on this, guys, you'll notice that it includes mercenaries, unaligned force users, and Old Republic. Now, yes, unaligned force users can apply to Ezra and to AHSOKA, but there is nothing in
just
here.
AHSOKA.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because Ezra's a Jedi. That's right. Good call. But there's nothing in here that refers to the Spectre tag itself. And as we know, it's confirmed at this point, AHSOKA and her team, we can kind of assume, are all going to have the Spectre tag. So that means that this current Datacron set really is not intended for AHSOKA when she drops. Okay, so that's part one of this. Ram, first of all, before I continue, would you agree with that sentiment, sir?
Absolutely. Yeah, this set is more for Shaka's favorite team, the Inquisitors.
Oh, man. They are going to be so freaking powerful, and it is not something I'm
And you finally have a use for a GI Cron now.
No. No!
Yes.
Moving on to better discussion topics now, guys. So, if we look at the Datacron sets, and this is largely where we got our reasoning for the Balin event coming out, we think, this week, specifically on Thursday, probably, with the update coming out on Wednesday. That is because the dusting for this current set that we have in game is the 30th. That is Wednesday of this upcoming week. So, knowing that information, if we take a look down here at the next Datacron set, the dusting would be 12/25, literally Christmas Day. Now, I don't think it's going to be that close to the dusting date because, as those of you that are familiar with CG know, they're on vacation at that point. They're not going to be working. They're going to be out of the office probably that entire week prior to Christmas. So there's a good chance that even though this will dust and we'll see the new Datacron set come out during this week, we probably will have the AHSOKA event before that. It'll probably drop beforehand for that. So that's kind of where we're getting our dates reasoning at here, guys. With that being said, Ram, I'm going to provide some more evidence here in a moment, but what are your thoughts on that? Do you think the Datacron reasoning is a valid way to go about figuring this information out, first of all?
No, yeah, of course Datacrons is a valid reason to think about it, because I mean, more often than not, we always have a Datacron set that coincide with the release of some character, whether it's, character released in Conquest, and the last Conquest, the next set that comes out is related to that character, or, it's within, a week or two of them bringing out. Various examples of that exist, of a Datacron set tying in with. So I think it's not unreasonable to think that the next set that comes out is going to involve AHSOKA, and to balance that timeline based off of that. Makes perfect sense.
Cool. All right. So with that information that we've got there, guys, assuming that all of that is correct, we're now going to go ahead and look at a calendar here. Warning, it is not in dark mode, unfortunately, guys. Sorry. I can't control what that looks like on my end. But we're going to take a look at a calendar and kind of go through CG's process in terms of when they drop updates and what is still to come yet for the AHSOKA requirements, and then give you an exact date in our mind, guys, when the AHSOKA event is going to happen at. So let's go ahead and switch over to that. So,
oh God, my eyes.
Yeah, it's bright. I'm sorry, man. It's like looking in the mirror. I know. So if we take a look at our current calendar, guys. So again, October 30th is when we think the update for Balin is going to come into the game, and then the event will be on the 31st. At this point, CG likes to do an every other week approach to updates in the game. They do a big push, then they don't do anything the next week, then they do another update, etc., etc. So with that being said, we can probably assume that November 6th will not have any kind of an update. So November 13th is the next week that makes sense for an update to come out. More than likely, in that 13th, we're probably going to see the third set of requirements, if not see it on the 30th, to be honest with you. I personally think it's going to be on the 30th because here's why, Ram. If they have a skin for Jedi training Sabine, which we talked about in part 1 of your video, then we're going to know pretty clearly, seeing that skin, that she's coming to the game. So it just makes sense in my book to release the AHSOKA third set of requirements on the 30th along with everything else. But not release the character until the 13th. Are you on board with me so far? Do you think that's an accurate statement?
Yep, I'm following.
Okay,
yep.
All right. So if she comes out or someone comes out the 13th, I'm going to assume it's Sabine. The next one that would come out would be the 27th. And I'm pretty confident we're going to see a second marquee character. The reason being that Leia had 4 marquees that came out. This is the next step in the progression, so it makes sense it's going to be at least 5. And in terms of filling out the AHSOKA team, we still have at least 3 more slots that are open. So I would expect Sabine to be one of them, Hu Yang to be another one. The problem we run into then, guys, so if the 27th is when, let's say hypothetically that's Hu Yang that comes out, they skip the 4th, it's now the 11th. If they bring out a third marquee character then, this is not going to line up well at all with when the event would drop, unless they kind of break precedent. So usually a character will drop at least 2 weeks before an event, because that way you have the entire time for the event to run, the marquee event, and then you also have time to be able to have it come out to some degree, at least some of it, to be crystal farmable. Right now, there's no way they're going to drop the event on the 25th, because they're out of the office. It's not going to happen. So this doesn't quite line up for a third marquee, in my opinion. So I think we're only going to see 2 marquees, the 13th and the 27th. And then the event will likely drop, in my opinion, on the 19th. They're going to want to drop it even maybe the 12th, to be honest with you. It's even possible it's the 12th, because like we said, they a lot of times like to drop the event. They like to have at least 2 days to make sure it's working properly and everything is functional from that standpoint. And then they go into break. But I think it's more likely they drop it the 19th and they make sure everything's functional and they say, see you later, guys. We're done for the year. And that's my reasoning, Ram. What are you thinking, man? Am I on par with this? Do you think maybe we will have a third marquee pushed? Or do you think it's, sorry, no, I shouldn't say a third, a 6th marquee in this instance? Or do you think they're just doing 2 more marquees?
2 marquees for sure makes sense. I mean, it is CG, and it's the last year, right? The last quarter of the year, right? So they could get greedy and try to push out a marquee on, what is that, the December 11th?
Yeah, it is possible. Here's the biggest reason I would say no to that is because of the new marquee structure. It takes a full week to do that marquee event. So, I mean, literally it would go all the way until the 17th. And remember, because they have to push the update out in addition to the event going live. So that would be 2 weeks in a row of pushing out updates. They'd push an update out on the 11th and then again on the 18th for the actual AHSOKA event. I don't see that happening. That breaks the every other week kind of cadence that they have run. So I'm leaning towards 2 as well, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be the 19th. If I was a betting man, that's probably where I would go with at this point. Make it December 19th, which is totally different than what I was first thinking. I was thinking Thanksgiving, because I thought they would want to have the entire month of December for people to try to farm this. But I guess realistically, the event will probably only run for a week, right?
Probably. And I think most people were thinking Thanksgiving a lot in part too because of their specific wording that they used. She will not be available until Ezra is available.
Right.
And so we're like, okay, well, 3 months of Conquest, 3 months of Ezra. That's enough time to start rolling out things and basically say, hey, this event will be out when Ezra comes out. But obviously, we don't think that's going to be the case now because we're 2 weeks away. We're still missing 8 announcements of her requirements. And like we've said, marquees are still a major factor in that. 2 for sure. 3 if they wanted to push and break cadence. And like I said, they've been known to push things out last minute when it's the end of a fiscal cycle.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So it's not I won't say it's not unheard of. It's abnormal, but it's not unheard of if they wanted to try to get as much cash income as they can prior to closing out the year.
So I think it's going to really come down to whether there's 2 or 3 marquees. Because if there's a third marquee, they have no choice but to do it the 19th. I mean, they really just don't. They have to run that third marquee event for the full week. So there's no way it would be the 12th in that scenario. And like we said, they're not going to push this out over the Christmas break. That's just not going to happen. That also lines up pretty well with the Datacron release. So the Datacron information should come out the week before the 25th, which would be when that event comes out. And again, we know they like to push out content all in one update. So I could see the AHSOKA event going live, the update coming out on the 18th, along with the Datacron information being released on the 18th too. Like I said, the only exception to that rule is if they only do 2 marquees. Okay, that does give them a little extra flexibility that they could drop all of that information out on the 11th instead and have the event hit the 12th. So I think it depends, really, literally whether it's 2 or 3. Precedent would say it's only going to be 2, and it's going to drop either the 12th or the 19th. But this team needs a third. It needs a third character, man. I wouldn't be shocked, unfortunately, if they do drop a third marquee, and they literally don't give you any time at all. You have to do the marquee event, and that's it. So I don't know. Let us know in the comments down below, guys. Do you think it's coming on the 19th? That's my main lead. I think it's going to be the 19th. Or do you think they're going to push it to the 12th and there will only be 2 marquee characters in addition to what we've had for AHSOKA? I'm intrigued to see what your thoughts are, guys. Whether you're excited for this event or not for AHSOKA. I know I am. I can't wait for it. Where are the third set of requirements? I just want them now, please. God, I hope they come out this Wednesday. If they don't release these this week, I'm going to be so mad.
I'm glad that the third set has not come out yet. Right?
Really?
Because with the third set that came out, knowing you would have pushed all your resources into that third set, and because it's not out yet, we were able to get you to push it into Grand Inquisitor.
I hate you. Somehow I had a feeling that's where that was going. I could have invested in so many other things that are better than Grand Inquisitor, guys.
CCG, now you have a Relic 9 Inquisitor team.
This is what you've done to me, CG.
Minus 1 person. We need to get you that last person.
Well, now we're getting Merrick next. We're not getting Riva. Not yet.
But you haven't hit that goal, right?
No, we haven't hit Merrick yet. We just started that.
Okay.
But yeah, they decided that Merrick is the next Inquisitor I'm getting, not Riva. They're such trolls, man. All right.
Merrick's going to be more expensive.
Yes, yeah, probably. Well, the other one will include 3 R9s, 2 of which are already R5. So it's probably going to be pretty close in the grand scheme of things. But anyway, moving on to our next point, guys. Conquest MVP. So obviously, we're trying to talk about things that are coming out this week. Balin is one of the big things we think is coming out. And the other thing, obviously, it's starting this week is Conquest. And I always like to talk about teams that people can use that can really achieve a lot of feats and a lot of battles and do well, especially for people that are newer to the game and things that may not be thought about typically as a team that we could use. So we're going to be talking about MVP teams here, guys, today. These are non-GL teams that we think can do really particularly well in Conquest. Ram, I'm going to go ahead and have you start with your team that you suggested, and we'll get into details on what that team looks like, sir. What team do you think is really good and kind of underrated, but yet really good in Conquest?
So, maybe not necessarily underrated because they're obviously the focus of this TB, or one of the focuses of TB. Wow, it's Hell Week. They're one of the focuses of this Conquest. Night Sisters is absolutely a team that not only is required for several feats. I'm talking probably 3 or 4 feats at minimum, not including Elsbeth feats. But depending on your data card breakup that you get, if you get Amplify Agony, Ruthless Offense, Volatile Accelerator, Caustic Emissions, there's so many, with or without Marin. You don't even need Marin in there. This team absolutely shreds because the revive mechanic, the unless you're going up against a gas team. Gas team is really the only issue that I see with the Night Sister team, even with Marin, just because obviously he prevents revives. You can still beat it, but you need a little bit more stamina and some good data cards for it.
Right. Bounty hunters if you're at relic levels, bounty hunters you're usually pretty safe against, but if you're only like gear 12 or lower, then be careful with bounty hunters too, because of Django and Boba and all of their anti-revive mechanics as well. So, but generally speaking, they are really good. You brought up a good point about how the revive mechanic is so good, and especially for those of you guys that don't know, if you have Marin, that adds a lot more of that reactive part to the comp here. As soon as somebody dies, then Marin immediately gets that bonus turn, stealths. So it's a good way to combat teams like, for instance, Troopers or Grievous, a team that just gets out and just turn meter runs left and right all over top of you. I wouldn't use them against Troopers, to be clear, but teams like that, they are very reactive and can do pretty well, though. The other nice thing, Ram, too, is there's a lot of buffs and debuffs with this team, too, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a ton of buffs and debuffs with this team, with Marin included in there. Lots of stuns. You can get a lot of stuns with this team. You can get a lot of ramping offense. So that's why I said the ruthless offense disc. That makes Asajj especially just start hitting like a freight train.
Right.
Talzin, when she does her AoE, just starts because she hits under protection.
She can just eat an entire team.
She'll destroy an entire team. It's crazy. This team is very easily accessible for a lot of new players, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out this team. You just kind of go in and hit buttons, and they do the work for you because of how well they synergize.
It's true. And the other thing I'll point out here, guys, with this team, so obviously this works really well with our current data disc set. But even other versions that have had, like, for instance, Zealous Ambition, there's a ton of support characters on this team. So even non-active data discs that we've seen in the past can work really well with this team too. So absolutely, if you are a early game player or a late game player, even, like I use these guys a lot too, they're a phenomenal team to have. Absolutely one that you guys should be looking at using. All right, for mine is a little bit more of a recent one than Night Sisters are, but again, most people should be at the point where they're getting DTMG at this point, and it should be pretty...
What's the F for?
You can figure that out. But this is a team that should be fairly accessible at this point for most people, and is, I think, pretty underrated. I know for me, especially, I've had them for a while now, but I tend to think of them as a TW team, which means I don't think about them really. And they're surprisingly good in Conquest. Like we were forced in this recent version of Conquest to use them because of feats. But I've found that, like, outside of that, they're still kind of becoming a real go-to team for me at this point. So, there's a ton of buffs with this team, especially with Scout Trooper on the team. He puts a ton of buffs on your team. He also puts a ton of debuffs along with Moff Gideon. So any kind of data discs that are debuff driven are going to really benefit here. You have 2 support characters in Gideon and Scout Trooper, so your Zealous Ambition is going to do really well. And then the other factor in this specific version of this team is that it's reactive when you have Stormtrooper on it here, because if Stormtrooper or anyone else dies for that matter outside of DTMG, he's going to get an immediate turn. He's going to be able to revive that person, bring them back, and then you're off and running. If you don't have Stormtrooper in this team, I think it's a little bit more dangerous because they could go straight for DTMG and then you may fail. So keep that in mind. There is the potential for this to not work. But I think overall, this is a team that's really good and should, generally speaking, be pretty approachable for most people now. What do you think, Ram? Am I on point with this, or do you think this is still too difficult of a team for people to get?
If it's pretty difficult for newer players to get,
yeah.
I think. If you're anywhere from probably 6 mil up, you should have this team or have access to this team, and it's going to be pretty reliable, pretty easy, pretty good to use at accomplishing certain feats. Obviously, you've got Imperial Remnants. That's going to be a massive feat for this team to accomplish. But then you also have you can throw in, because they're remnants, you can throw in Death Trooper Peridia, you can throw in Night Trooper and gain access to those feats as well. So yeah, it's an amazing team. It is a little bit more late game than the Night Sisters are,
right?
But it's still going to be very, very crucial for you as a player to have during this last conquest.
Yeah, I would say this
probably any future conquest too, involving Imperial Remnants. This is going to be a go-to team for Remnants.
This faction is definitely going to get more usage in the future. Yeah, I would say so. Night Sisters obviously were very, very early game solid. This is more a little bit on the longs of mid game, and then we have an honorable mention here, guys. So we were talking about this before the video started. We were like, this team is just so good in Conquest, man. It's just so good. How could we not mention it? And this is a little bit more of a late game team, to be clear. But we kind of wanted to hit all 3 tiers. So this one is our Queen Amidala team. Really, the core of this is Queen Amidala with Master Qui-Gon and Padawan Obi-Wan. You could kind of throw in whatever other 2 Jedi and or Galactic Republic in here that you want to. So obviously we have a current feat with Qui-Gon, the OG Qui-Gon. A lot of people are throwing him in instead of Shaak Ti. But this is a team that you can easily put together, and it just curb stomps everything in Conquest. And we've discussed this before, Ram. There's an Omicron with this team. And while I think most late game players wouldn't use this, that Omicron can be pretty good for early game players too.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Padawan Obi-Wan, his Ami in Conquest specifically, just makes this a nasty team, and he already tosses out so much damage.
Yep. And
then you add that Ami, it's night and day comparison. He wrecks things. I've seen footage of his Omicron in use in Conquest, and it curb stomps. Easily curb stomps a lot of different teams. It makes it really easy to do things that you normally did not. You might have struggled with, and you might have been like, yeah, let me just use a GL. Makes this team really viable across all areas of Conquest.
So the other thing is, we'll say with this, guys, this is a team that you absolutely should have gotten or probably should be going for. I know that we're getting a point of no return in terms of investment on this now with the raid, but for the raid, guys, you should have gone in for this team. It's well worth it. They're very good. And in terms of a long-term viability beyond the raid, Master Qui-Gon and Pal have a lot of benefits with their event as well. I know mine are at 7. I haven't gone to 9 yet with them because of other issues that I'm trying to address. But I know for me, long-term wise, I would like to take them up to 9 eventually for that event because it's worthwhile. Are you going to take yours to 9, Ram, or are they already there? I'm not sure where you're at with those.
No, so both of mine are Relic 8 because I don't do TW because I hate that game mode with a burning fiery passion almost as much as you hate Inquisitors.
Yes.
I don't do TW, so I don't get the droid brains. So I'm forced to spend the 1,500 every week to get droid brains, slow farm them. But that event, when I take them up to Relic 9, and I'm still a while out, but when I take them up to Relic 9, that's going to allow me another way to farm droid brains. So it's that in and of itself is I can't remember if you get Amis out of it as well, but that in and of itself is a win for me. Getting being able to farm droid brains another way.
Yeah.
And both of them are Relic 9. I mean, Qui-Gon does a good bit of damage with his roll of dice, and he's tanky as all hell. Obi-Wan, though, God, he already does so much damage. He did so much damage at Relic 7. He does even more at Relic 8. I know it's crazy to think that more Relic levels, the more damage you do, but it's true.
It's true.
He does a butt ton of damage at Relic 8, and so I'm only imagining what he's going to do at Relic 9.
Yeah. So, guys, hopefully this has helped you guys. That's one of our goals here with our videos is always to try to put something out that's helpful as opposed to just discussive. It gives you kind of 3 good tiers, and at the very least, it's giving you 3 teams that are worth investing in the long term. We know the Imperial Remnant are going to be very important moving forward. We know there's long-term viability in terms of benefits and rewards and such with the Queen Amidala team. So there's lots of good things with these 3 teams. Whether you have them or not, you need to invest in them, get them. They're really good. Let us know in the comments down below, guys, if there's another team that maybe you think should have been put on our list that we didn't include. I'd be intrigued to see if you guys have any kind of hidden teams that we wouldn't think of that are also very, very good in Conquest and very usable. All right, with that being said, Ram, we're going to go ahead and move to our final portion of our video today, and that is the Master of Memes, guys. Master of Memes. So, for those of you that don't know, we have memes submitted by our community, guys. For me specifically, it's over on Discord. You can check the Master of Memes channel over there. We have 2 matchups each week. This week's Master of Memes matchup, guys, is Nice Suit Vader. It must have cost you an arm and a leg. Yeah?
What? Oh, God.
Versus...
Why did you go that route? Oh, no.
Because I felt like I had to do it for posterity. So, for those of you that don't know, we premiere these on Friday nights on Twitch on our streams. And I did this very similar to the way that I just did it because I didn't understand the reference. I didn't know CSI Miami. I didn't know anything about CSI Miami. So my and that was not the correct So I just had to stay on point for, posterity. Versus...
Yeah, it's supposed to be...
Go ahead, Ram.
It's supposed to be for reference, all right? The character in CSI Miami does a nice little quirp. He'll be talking to some detective and be like, nice suit. It must have cost an arm and a leg. And he'll put on the sunglasses at the same time. I don't have sunglasses with me, but he'll put on these Ray-Ban sunglasses. And then it starts the song of the Who. Yeah! Do, 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 do.
So yeah, I didn't get that
So
reference,
AHSOKA
guys.
making that sexual was just completely awesome.
That was sexual?
Say your again.
I'm not doing it again, no. Now I'm self-conscious. All right, so that's our first meme. Versus, get ready, here comes some accent work, guys. 'Tis but a scratch. A scratch? Your arm's off. I've had worse. You liar, you've got no legs. It's just a flesh wound. Okay, I'm done. So, first of all, despite the amazing, amazing, amazing voice work that you got from you guys, I'm surprised I'm not a voice actor. Let's be honest here.
I'm not.
Ram, which meme did you like better, sir? Which one do you think should get the win here today?
Oh man! All right. So when we were voting on these, obviously I got the reference with the tis but a scratch. It's like that. Come on, Monty Python is a classic. It's one of the greatest. And then you tie that in with this amazing
sequence
series Star Wars type genre. Yeah. I don't know. The words are hard right now. It was a good meme, but it was the combination of I instantly understood the reference with the and the sunglasses, and then AHSOKA not understanding the reference. That I was like, I have to go with the arm and the leg.
You mean my accent didn't seal it for you on 'Tis But a Scratch? My accent was so good.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah.
it's the fact that you just didn't understand the reference was like, okay, we need to make this one win.
See, so for me, guys, it's without a doubt, it's tis a scratch. I mean, not only is it a cross-curricular, as we like to say in the educational world, but also my accent was just on point. It's the best British accent I've ever heard in my life. So it should absolutely get the win, guys.
It helps when you're not drunk.
It's true. Unfortunately, I don't get to decide who wins. You do. The Master of Memes winner for this week is an arm and a leg. Yeah.
Oh, God. that right there, that's... Do you not know who the Who is?
Who?
Oh,
Congratulations, guys, to Soulsy with the win this week, getting the Master of Memes title. For those of you who don't know, we obviously shout you guys out over on Twitch when this happens live. We shout you out here on Rogue Actions, and you also get a special role on Discord and a shout out on Discord as well. If you guys think you have memes that would beat this and are better quality than what we just showed you today, head over to the Discord, guys. Head over to the Master of Memes channel and submit your favorite memes over there, guys, and we will add it to the list where I will do an amazing voice work interpretation of said meme.
I can't find my sunglasses.
Ram, any final words before we call it a day?
Yeah! Do, 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 do.